looking like it is going from bad to worse for Coach Jose Peseiro. But let's start with something unpalatable that happened with the Gambian team. A journalist on social media, Sani Malang, a fact checker, so to say, confirmed that while the Gambian team were on their way to Ivory Coast, because of the size of the plane they were flying in, it plunged into insufficient oxygen because of the size of the aircraft, like I said. And the two Gambia players, they almost fainted, and the plane had to turn back to the country. And we heard that they were briefly hospitalized by weekends that they should be okay now. This is not a very good one for the Gambia, even for Africa, because if you are going to a country to represent your tournament, it's almost like a disaster that was averted because anything could have happened in the air.
Yeah, Femi, if that news is correct, it is something that should worry everybody. But then we have to remember that the Gambia is a very, very small country. It is not very, very rich. So we should understand that they probably were trying to cut their coat according to their material. So that could explain why they had that kind of aircraft, but that does not explain why the players' lives were endangered. Because whether you are playing or you're not, nobody's life should be put on the line like that. It's so unfortunate. We are happy that that was averted, and we pray. Of course, we're Africans. We always pray. We pray that that does not appear. That does not reoccur whenever they are going. For me, I don't mind them taking the bus. They should just take a bus. If not, they could drive up to Dakar, up to Senegal, and from Senegal they just cross the border into Ivory Coast. It's happened before. It doesn't take away anything from their participation. If they arrived in Ivory Coast by bus, rather than endanger the lives of their players and officials. So for me, again, like I said, it's a tragedy that's been averted. I do not pray we see stuff like this again. We want to hear good things about Gambia and other countries participating in the AFCON, not news like this.
Okay. If I think the producer is actually flashing that image on the screen right now. It's a very small size aircraft, as it is seen there. James, let's talk about the Super Eagles of Nigeria. You wouldn't even give Jose Peseiro any chance of doing anything meaningful at the AFCON. But now with the injury news coming from that camp, it seems that the Super Eagles should just prepare to pack their bags and return home because yesterday, Sadiq Umar, who plays for Real Sociedad, was the new concern about the participation. And thus this morning, before we came on air, the Super Eagles have confirmed that he is out of the AFCON and he's been replaced by Paul Onauchu, who plays for Trabzonspor in Turkey. James, Victor Osimhen is the only surviving choice of striker that Jose Peseiro wanted in his list because remember, Boniface out, and now Umar Sadiq out. He now has a Terry Murphy and Paul Onauchu, the two guys on his standby list. James, it is going back. It is going from bad to worse for Jose Peseiro, in whom a lot of Nigerians do not even have any confidence at all.
Femi, the sad news just keeps coming. The only person we are so hopeful of now is Victor Osimhen. And we also know that he also has his own injury history when it comes to injuries, So that is the only person now that we are banking on. Terry Murphy, he has been around with the team, so it's not as if he's a stranger. Paul Onauchu has been away for some time, but at least he has played for Peseiro, so that is a little consolation that we have. But the spate of injuries is alarming. It's as if it's only Nigeria that is suffering from this injury setback. So I remember in the last World Cup in Qatar, we saw something like this where players were just pulling out because of injuries. So but it's not palatable at all. But the team that we are so skeptical about now, injury is just maybe this one is even a ready-made excuse for the coach, who a lot of people don't even fancy. he will come out and say injury affected his team, affected the plans and what have you. So like I said before, Femi, I don't have any confidence in this team. A lot of people have tried to psych people up to believe, but from what we have been seeing, even apart from the injuries, the performances and everything, Femi, it's just like a miracle now that we just see us through this competition, and hopefully nobody will break down again, because it's like a competition now among the players that they're just falling off, getting injured, and so let's wait and see, keep our fingers crossed, and whatever the outcome of their performance, the AFCON, let's just take it like that.
All right, Nigerians are covering their their players, particularly Victor Osimhen. They say they cover him with the blood. They don't want anything to happen to him. Could it be the training regime that Jose Peseiro must have adopted for his strikers? Because in the defense, in the midfield, this hasn't happened, but it's been happening to the strikers. Like I said, Boniface growing, Sadiq Umar now a knee injury. Would you say it is maybe perhaps the training regime, or just the pressure of the whole season that is telling on these guys? Because if we are saying that it is the pressure, then why the strikers?
I don't think I'm not going to blame what is not supposed to be blamed. Indeed, his injury was before the AFCON, before the list was even made public. What's his name? Boniface's was in the game in the friendly game against Guinea, and it's only Sadiq Umar that we could say picked up a training ground injury. So I don't think it is the training regime. And I think it is the fact that this competition is happening at a time in the season that is not good enough. And it's not about Nigeria alone. Of course, the Nigerians will focus on their team the same way Ghana will focus on Kudus, and other countries will focus on their own star players too. No, it's not, to answer your question, it's not about the regime. I'm not sure. Nobody has come out to complain that the training was is too tough or whatever. I'm sure they all do what is was and more than that in their different clubs. It's just a bad time for the Nigerians. Hopefully, this could spring up unlikely heroes. People you and I didn't think. Of course, I am sure Paul Onauchu would have been planning to maybe this weekend go somewhere after this club's game, go have fun. He has found himself heading towards Ivory Coast now. So let's hope that these are the kind of fairy tales that becomes bestsellers for me. You never can tell. Unlikely hero, he could turn up to be the savior of the Nigerian team on the day, and that will make for a good headline and a good story to write to.
Okay, but the question I asked, one of the questions I asked is, why do you think it's happening to the strikers? Because the midfield, and it is like you said, Ayew was out earlier, even before the list was out. Then indeed also, but why do you think it is happening to the strikers? That is where the worry is. Where Peseiro only had 3 strikers. Now 2 of the first choice are out. Why do you think it is happening to the strikers?
Tell me, I think I've said this to you personally in different times, and I've said it on here again, that you lose games sometimes before you play the games, just from the kind of players you put together. This AFCON team, when it was announced, I told you, I said it was not balanced. Now we are seeing it even before the first game is kicked. When you have a team that is focus on what it shouldn't be focused on, this is what you get. When you have like 9 defenders in the team, you ask yourself, how many of those are going to play? I would expect the midfield to be much more populated, followed by the attack. At the worst case, you have 6, 7 defenders. That would be enough for me. Now we've seen players. You never can tell. In fact, before Sunday, we could see other casualties. I'm not praying. I'm not a prayer of doom. I'm not a prophet of doom. I'm just saying these things happen, which is happening to strikers now, simply because we are focused on that position, on that side. You can't take three strikers to a competition, Femi. It will not work, because of course 2 of them will be playing at each stage of the competition. That means you have just 1 on the pitch. what happens when one gets a red card or one picks up an injury? That means you put pressure on the one on the bench if you don't have any other extra. So for me, the good thing is that in the midfield that Pesero has selected, there are offensive players in that midfield. That's what's going to save Nigeria's blushes. Yeah, that's what's going to save their blushes.
You actually
If
took
not,
that out of my mind. Yeah.
they should be in trouble.
Okay. James, like I said, Carl, they actually took that out of my mind because when you look at Ademola Lookman, he plays almost like a second striker for Atalanta. Would you think that Pesero will want to maybe use that advantage now that is because at the moment we can assume that he wouldn't have as much confidence in Murphy, that is Murphy, and Onauchu like he would have had in Boniface at Sadiq Umar. Would you think that Pesero might want to maybe use Ademola Lookman as the second striker or something?
Well, this is the time that Pesero will have to come up with something drastic because his plans are gradually going south now. So you just have to be smart about his selection now. The way you come about with players, and because the focus will be on Victor Osimhen. No doubt, everybody will feel that Osimhen must be a starter, but there are some smart coaches who will now have to shuffle their pack because people believe Osimhen will be the vocal point of attack. So why not spring up a surprise? Maybe try Ademola Lookman. Just do something that will put the opponent off balance. Because they will believe Osimhen. There's no other player that we want to use as our top 9 other than Osimhen. So I expect him to at least come up with his thinking cap now. But the team is attack. As in the concentration, the most potent part of this team is the attack. I'm telling you, Femi, there are smart teams that want to take care of your attack. I mean, forget about the other aspects. At the last AFCON, where we lost to Tunisia, it was not as if they were better than the Super Eagles. But they know that Super Eagles there was no Victor Osimhen, but the team was scoring for fun. But against Tunisia, the moment they took care of Moses Simon,
they cut off the wings,
and that was it. So we pride ourselves that we have some of the hottest attack. But Femi, if that attack is taken care of, Femi, we're going to run into trouble, honestly.
Okay.
Because that's the only place that will give us victory. But because now we don't even know who's going to be in goal. The defense too is very, very suspect. The midfield is neither here nor there. We just focus on the attack. And like I said, if our attack is sorted out, Osimhen, because Osimhen will be so marked in this competition. I hope he doesn't get frustrated. I'm afraid for this team, honestly.
Okay. Just like yesterday, Emmanuel Amunike was saying that Osimhen, there will be so much attention on Osimhen, and the best thing is other teammates can do for him is to do their job so that at least the pressure can reduce on him being the reigning African Footballer of the Year. Akadi, let's talk about the Black Stars of Ghana, and the captain, of course, the Ayew has been speaking. And he said something yesterday that a lot of people have said is just a pure excuse. He said the AFCON is tougher than the World Cup. And I quickly read some quotes. He said this tournament is even harder than the World Cup. Talking with Ghana Soccer Net, he said, we know that it is the hardest tournament for me in the World Cup when it comes to fighting, determination, and energy. He said, so the only way we can do this is by being together and being united. And for that, Your Excellency was talking with the president of the president of Ghana, Nana Akufo-Addo, saying, I can assure you that we are united and we want to do it. Kayode, would you agree that the AFCON, I don't know what your opinion would be, is tougher than the World Cup, which I know you might not? Would you say it's an excuse? Because that is what a lot of people have been saying about this interview.
Let me shock you. I agree with him.
Wow.
The AFCON is tougher for African players than going to the World Cup. The World Cup is
should I repeat the question?
No. I understand it. The World Cup is more glamorous. The standards are higher, but the getting into playing games against African opposition, it's like you fighting somebody who is way below your weight division. They throw everything at you. What he said Rashidi Yekini said the same like 30 years ago. Yeah. The late Rashidi Yekini said the same about 30 years ago. He said coming back to Africa to play is an entirely different kettle of fish. So in this, I agree with, of course, it's not a popular opinion. Most people will not agree, but I agree with him. Maybe his choice of words may have triggered all of these naysayers that what did he mean? But I agree with him that the AFCON is not easy. It's not because there are better players in the AFCON. No, that's not what he meant. I'm not trying to second guess him, but if I am going to draw parallels between what he said and what Yekini said about 30 years ago, I would tell you that I absolutely agree with him on this. The AFCON is a very, very tough competition, but the standards are not the same. The technicality is not the same. In terms of glamour, the World Cup is several light years ahead. But I agree absolutely with him that the AFCON is a very, very tough competition to win.
Okay, so the Black Stars, they get their campaign underway against the Cape Verde. On Sunday, of course, the same day that Nigeria will be getting their own campaign underway in Group A against Equatorial Guinea. And now, James, let's look at the African teams who have players at the World Cup. As expected, you have Alali, Sundowns. They have 10 players from each of these teams playing at the AFCON, representing their respective nations. Then you have a pyramid, still of Egypt. We have 7 and 9. I meant to say 9. Then you have Pirates of South Africa. They have 7. Of course, you know that they will be in maybe the Bafana, and of course, the number of others Southern African teams. So Alali 10, Sundowns 10, Pyramid 9, Pirate 7. What does this mean about development of the game in Africa? Because if you want to look at it, this should be a sort of model that at least players who play on the continent, who play their trade on the continent, should be able to represent their nation at the AFCON. Because here you have about, that is 29, you have about 36, just 36. Would you say the number is enough? If you have 36 players playing their professional football on the continent and playing at the AFCON, would you say it is sufficient compared to the number of players that we have in Africa?
Well, for me, it's in a tournament like this, you want players from the continent to be a big part of it. And in the past, we used to, before this foreign based player stuff, before it became very, very popular, most of the guys who used to play in the AFCON were own base players. And that's part of the reason why they decided to come up with this CHAN tournament, at least to give those who play at home something to hold on to, so that because it's like if they are taking the shine away from the home base players. There kudos to teams like Egypt and South Africa who still had the chance to give the home base players opportunity to be part of the tournament. Because most teams now, they are just going foreign now. Even the Moroccan team that did very well at the last World Cup, that team was foreign base packed. Foreign base packed players who so it's as if when the Super Eagles won the AFCON, the guys who stood out at Sunday Mba, home base, then we had lots of Giver Ruben, Godfrey Babuna. They are the excitement of AFCON. But Femi, you cannot teach countries who they invite how they want to select their players. I mean, everybody has their own freedom to pick whoever they want. So but we want the home base players to be part of the competition. But it's the calling of the coach. So they are the ones who decide if they still have more local based players or they will just go full blast foreign base.
Okay. Kayode, as we wrap up now, what do you think is the implication? Just 36 players playing for respective clubs in Africa that will be featuring at the 2023 Africa Cup of Nations. Just like James said, if you are to draw the parallel, so to say, what implication would you say it means for Africa? Because if in our own competition, the biggest football fiesta in our own continent, and we are still looking far away to bring players to come and represent our nation, what do you think is the implication for professional football in Africa?
Femi, I don't know what you are driving at. We claim the AFCON is our biggest competition, We want our biggest players to come and play. And we all agree that our biggest players are not in the continent. So why are we raising a doubt about wherever they are coming from? Until we make conditions conducive for them to come back and play on African soil, we should always expect to get the bulk of players representing African nations at the World Cup from outside the continent. It's as simple as that. This FM is a no-brainer. We all agreed. You and I and every football analyst out there agree that the best African talents are outside the country. They are outside the continent. So that's to be expected. Fine, we would have loved a situation where we have players on the continent being represented at the AFCON. But Femi, as it is now, I'm sure every country has the bulk of almost every country. Anyway, let me rephrase that. Almost every country have the bulk of their players playing outside the continent. So we should not grandstand or make a mountain out of this.
Would that affect the quality of the game in Africa? Because we are really looking away from developing the indigenous league.
These things go hand in hand. When we develop African football, the domestic league in Africa, when we develop it, we will see a trickle-down effect. What if we are not going to see players suddenly coming, they're choosing to stay in Africa? Better work, better paying conditions, better facilities will make them want to go abroad. What we can hope for is what is happening in South America now. That players, after playing in Europe, making all the money, they go back to help improve the standard of their leagues back home, or towards 2-3 years towards the end of their career. Once we are able to get to that position, Femi, I will be satisfied.
Okay, I think one of the problems we have is that our respective governments in African countries, they do not really have the political will to develop football or good sport generally on the continent. We are wishing the Super Eagles of Nigeria, the Ghana Black Stars, the Cameroon, Senegal, all the best, but particularly the Super Eagles, that this thing of injuries will stop, because I know this money was a Pesero will really be scratching his head. And a lot of Nigerians have said that he already has he has a ready-made excuse for whatever thing the team achieves in Cote d'Ivoire. Well, we wish them all the best. Tomorrow will be the D-Day, the D-Day, when the 2023 Africa Cup of Nations will be kicking off. Everything is ready, all the 6 stadiums, according to the Confederation of African Football. Almost everything is ready. It's just for players to get to the pitch and show what they have to offer. Kade and James, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you very much, Femi. See you tomorrow.
All right, thank you. All right, so our fans across the world, we appreciate you so much for all the support. I count down when we started, 30 days, almost 30 days now. Tomorrow is the D-Day. Thank you so much. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel, share our videos. Like we said, the comment section is for you. Whatever you feel that we can do to make this program better for you, please indicate in the comment section. Tomorrow we'll be doing a preview of Cote d'Ivoire versus Guinea-Bissau by God's grace, and we'll be looking at what we will be expecting from the Elephants. They are hosting, they are under pressure, their fans will expect a lot from them. But don't also forget that Guinea-Bissau, they are just next door neighbor to Ivory Coast. So the support will almost be even at the stadium. But tomorrow we'll be bringing you all of the news that you need to know ahead of the kickoff. I remain Ashalo Kade. Thank you so much, our producer, for always putting this together.